My name is Christian. Some of you guys might know me, but you probably don't know my story. So that's why I'm here today, just to tell you that. So I'm from New Jersey. I came to Colorado because I went to the Air Force Academy to play lacrosse. Graduated in 2019, and then my first assignment was actually Peterson Air Force Base as an acquisitions officer. So I moved right down the road. And if any of you guys know anything about acquisitions, it's like the least sexy thing in the Air Force. It's basically just paperwork, and it's pretty boring sitting at a desk. So the transition from being a Division I athlete to, like, especially at the Air Force Academy, where every single minute of my day was pretty much booked, going to a job where I was pushing paperwork and sitting at a desk from 9 to 5 was just really tough for me, like incredibly tough. Just the pace, and I felt like I could be doing a lot more than that. So I kind of had this idea, and it helped coming here a ton. You guys actually pushed me a lot, which I'll talk about later, but I knew I didn't want to do acquisitions or probably be in the Air Force for the next 20 years. So I wanted to start something and build a business so that when I get out in 3 years, I can hit the ground running and I can start doing something else. So I created a branding and design company called the Gallows because I really love art. It's always been a passion of mine, and it's been a way for me to express myself. So I started that business, and then I was thinking, like, how do I even start this, right? Like, I have no clients. I have nothing to show if I want to tell someone, hey, like, this is what I do. So I started creating these designs for local companies, just a couple that I'm a personal fan of or places that I enjoy. So created some designs for Drifters, BJ's Velvet Freeze, the ice cream place, Andy's Meat Market, stuff like that. And then I created a couple of fake brands, just ideas that I had, like a whiskey company, whatever, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of how I built my portfolio and showcased my work. And then kind of the reason that, like, why I want to do it and the purpose of my business is not only for myself, but to help other people, right? So I'm building this and I'm starting this, and I really want to make it successful because I don't want to do the job I'm in for the next 20 years. I just feel like I have a lot more to offer, and I'm not reaching my full potential. But I also want to help people. Like, if I can create a design or a logo or whatever you need for your business that gives you the confidence to get out there and have success and have confidence in your business, that's what I want to do. I want to help people actually achieve their dreams and not be scared to, like, leave a job or just stay in your comfort zone. And then the current state of my business right now, so I am working on incorporating my business, not actually set up with that, opening a business bank account and getting more clients pretty much. So yeah, that's where I'm at. So we can go into questions if we want. Yeah. Yes. So the Gallows pole, and I passed out some business cards so if you can see those. If you don't know what that is, it's what they used to hang people from, which is a little dark, I know. But I got the idea because I'm a huge Led Zeppelin fan, and they have a song called Gallows Pole, and it's really an old folk tale. It's about a guy he's pretty much on the gallows pole. He's about to be hanged, and then he's just pleading with the hangman, like, please just give me some more time. I'll give you gold, I'll give you money, whatever, all that. And then he ends up being hanged. And I was listening to that song on my way to work one time, and I was like, this job is going to be the death of me if I do it for 20 more years. And so that's kind of like, I think of like the 9 to 5 job, for me at least, is like the modern day hangman. Like, it kills so many people, kills their confidence, their drive, their dreams, all that. So this is like my way to escape that, and I want to help other people escape that gallows pole so they don't have to be stuck in their 9 to 5 jobs or something that they hate. So that's the inspiration for it. If you don't know the song, listen to it. It's pretty cool. Yes.
So I'm going to ask, tell then what other resources have you gotten from this community to be able to get to where you are right now?
Yeah, so I was here, I forget the gentleman's name, but he had a home healthcare company. I think it's Recon Healthcare. Ben. Okay, so I was sitting over there for that presentation, and everyone's asking him all these questions like, when did you start? When did you launch? All this stuff, and he's like, well, I haven't done it because it's not perfect yet. And everybody was like, just do it right now. Like, do it when you go home. So I was listening to that, and I was like, oh my God, I got to do this like when I get home today. So yeah, so from that one CUPS meeting, I launched my website, and then I just did a bunch of other stuff. So that was the inspiration that you guys gave to me. And then I got a lot of resources from Brandy, actually, for like actually how to set up my business, my bank account, a ton of advice. But I think the biggest thing that I get here is like I'll come every Wednesday morning, and even if it's a really tough week or I have a lot of stuff to do, it's like I get re-energized to do it because I'm all around like-minded people, whereas at work, I don't really talk about it as much because people tell me that it's kind of stupid, but yeah, I'd say inspiration is probably the biggest one. Yes, sir, in the back.
So tell me about the process. I'm going to come to you. I need a logo. I need some branding. How does that work? How do you walk me through that?
Okay, so before I get into that, this is my one ask of the community, I guess, is if you guys have gone through this process before, so if you've gotten a logo or designs for your own business, I'd love to talk to you about that, because where I'm struggling right now is the pricing. Like, you can't really just look at a designer's website and they don't say like, oh, I charge this much for that, right? So I've actually reached out to a couple designers to see what they charge, and I've gotten like one answer. So I don't really have a good benchmark for the pricing. So I'd love to talk to somebody about that. But as far as the process goes, I have a contact form on my website, or you can contact me however, but it's basically a consultation, like to see what you need and then to talk about it, because and beyond just your design needs, like if you want, I don't know, you want to strengthen your image, like maybe you'll need a new logo. If you want maybe more referrals, you'll go with like a different, maybe you need like additional designs, or you need kind of just like to reimagine your brand's image. So usually a consultation, and then just meetings like throughout the process, because there's a lot of revisions involved. So just to stay on track, usually have meetings with people, see how it's going. So does that answer your question, sir? Yes, sir, in the back.
How do you see yourself, or what's going to be your niche that'll separate you from like Fiverr, WeWork, all of those that, I mean, offer obviously overseas pricing, and you still get quality products. So what is going to differentiate you from that?
That's a great question. So I did Fiverr in college. I drew a lot in college because that was like a way for me to deal with a lot of stuff that I had going on. It was a great outlet for me. And I did some work on Fiverr. If you don't know what that is, it's a freelance site. So you just create a page and you can have like a different package. And that's your service. And usually it's pretty cheap. It could be like $25 to $50 for a logo or something. But I don't think the return on that is that great, when I was doing it at least. But I think what differentiates me is like, I kind of like the saying, good work isn't cheap and cheap work isn't good, right? So, and one thing I take pride in is that I draw, like I don't do all my stuff on a computer with different shapes. So I draw everything by hand with pencil and pen on paper. And then I'll put it into my computer and scan it, and I can add different things. Like I can add color, do whatever, but I think that makes a really special product that people will value, because it's not something that anybody really can recreate unless they were to copy it exactly. So that's where I think my advantage is over the sites like Fiverr and Freelancer, that kind of stuff. Yes, sir. That's a great question. So I do love the Air Force. I don't love my job. Like, I'm very appreciative that I got to go to the academy, gave me an education, opportunity to play sports in college. So that's great. But I just love creative outlets. Some things that I like, I obviously love art. I love music. I love fly fishing, love motorcycles and dirt bikes, building that kind of stuff. And I love photography. So I have a lot of different interests, but I would say most of them center around art and creativity. Like, it's just, I think it's a great way to express myself, which is like what I love the most. And then as far as why I'm doing it, if I could combine that with like helping other people and then being able to be successful, which in my terms would be like, I could be my own boss, or I could have my own schedule, make my own time. That's kind of why I want to do it. And I feel like that's kind of the perfect culmination of why I want to start a business like this, because I'm doing it for myself and then I'm doing it for other people too. And I think it's just, when I picture myself in the future, like that's what I picture myself doing. Does that answer your question? No? That's a tough one. That's probably a better question for my mom, to be completely honest. I'm sure she'd have a great answer. But no, I've always loved like the aspect of art since I was really little. I think my mom still has a ton of my elementary art hung up in the house, even though it's terrible. But I kind of just love that. Like, I grew up and I would always doodle in class or like make drawings, and I always had my notebook for school, and then I had like a notebook for just drawing stuff when I wasn't paying attention. And then, I don't know, I find that it's a great way to also challenge myself. Like, I'm trying to think of some artistic things I've done. So obviously the easiest thing is to just draw with pen and pencil. And then I always get these ideas. I was like, all right, maybe I'll paint a pair of shoes, right? And that's a great way to challenge myself. And I love to explore those new things, and it just gives me a lot of satisfaction. So started painting like custom shoes for people. And I guess that's one of the things too, where I realized like I could probably make art as a living in some form, because I got a bunch of people asking if I could paint shoes for them. And I was like, nah, it's a little much. But yeah, I just love the creative side. And I think like I'm just a creative person. So yes. So I think branding is cool, because if you think about it, it's like you could almost apply the concept of branding to anything. Like, if you think about that, where that word comes from, it's from ranching, right? Like you brand a cattle, so everybody can look at that and be like, oh, I know whose that is, right? Same thing with music. Like, I could listen to a Led Zeppelin song, and I would know it's Led Zeppelin because they have a sound. Like, that's their brand. That's kind of what they do. So I think that's really cool, and for my artwork and my skills to like be recognizable and to serve someone else as like to make them stand out amongst other people, I think that's really cool. So that's kind of why I like branding. Yes, ma'am.
So I want to circle back to the painting of shoes, because you've kind of blown it off, but as we learned with Hector this morning, sometimes those lackadaisical kind of doesn't feel like it's bringing us some success, actually does. So I want to explore that a little bit more with you. Again, kind of backtracking to Frank, because I still don't, I'm seeing you, but I'm not feeling you, because I want to know there's a dark humor there, and I love it, and I want to see more of it. And the reason I speak of this is because I understand it, and I have a son who's just like you. And that's what makes him amazing. So that's the piece I want to see. So what do you get out of when you paint those shoes? Because that your face lit up. Your entire vibrancy changed versus when you're talking about your marketing business. Just FYI.
Mm-hmm. I think what I get out of it is that like people can give me an idea, or sometimes with the shoes they'll be like, you can just paint whatever you want. And that's what's cool for me is like, it's not like my job where it's like, okay, you got to do this, and then you got to do this, and you got to do that. And it has to be like, gets kicked back like so many times because I didn't put the right font or whatever. Yeah, and I love the shoes, and I just love the art aspect because it's like I can just do kind of what I want to do, and nobody can really tell me. Most of the time, people are like, wow, that's amazing. I never would have thought of that. So that's what I like a lot. Yes.
Okay, to piggyback off of that, why did you choose graphic design over just becoming an artist and having your own creative direction?
I don't know. I never really considered being an artist full time. Like, you mean artist by the ways of like just creating my own things. So I like doing that for fun, but I don't know if I would make a business out of it because I kind of like, I still have a lot of fun making people's designs because it's really cool when somebody comes to me and they say, here's like the logo or what I want. And it's something that I would have never drawn or really thought about drawing. So that like keeps it fresh and exciting, but personal art, which I still do, is like my fun kind of side piece. Yes.
How has Taurus Springs influenced your art? Tell us a little bit about your ideal client.
Okay, so my ideal client would be, I would say right now, like a local business or small business with deep ties into the community, which I think most of them are. Or someone who's looking to start a business that doesn't really know where to start. Like there's a new coffee shop in town. There's, things like that would be kind of my ideal client. Where I got a lot of my inspiration from in Colorado Springs is like, I'm kind of on Facebook a lot. And I joined these, well, let me back this up. I bought a house like pretty close to here, and it's really old. And I wanted to know some history about the area because I saw some pictures. I was like, wow, that's my street 100 years ago. That looks pretty cool. So I joined these old Facebook groups where it's just like retired people posting old photos that they find in their basement. And I think they're really cool. Like I love the history of the West. I love the history of Colorado Springs. And then the reason I created designs for like BJ's, that kind of stuff, is because people posted pictures of that when it was in like the 60s. And then there were so many pictures that people posted, and these places had gone out of business, and it was like everyone's commenting, oh, it's like an apartment building now, or it's something else. So I thought that would be a cool way kind of to like keep the Colorado Springs community alive. So yeah, that's a big source of inspiration.
We have time for one more question.
Good.
A real
Yes.
question?
A real question.
I don't know if this is considered a question, but you kept mentioning art a lot. And with you saying you're trying to figure out the pricing, I think you answered it with that, man, with art. Like if it's art, that's your price. You can price it at what you want because you're providing an art for somebody that they can't do. So it's whatever you think it's valued at.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right, time for our super special question. Who's got it?
What can we as a Colorado Springs community do to help you grow your business?
So like I already mentioned, that's great. I love that feedback and I appreciate it. If you have any feedback for me, I'd love to hear it. And then secondly, if you know somebody who has a business that you think could benefit from something that I offer, just don't be afraid to tell them and have them reach out to me. And then third, I would just say go support some local businesses. Like from those pictures in that Facebook group, there's so many family-owned places that have gone out of business in the last 50 years, probably even like 10 or 20. So just encourage you to go out, get acquainted with the community. If there's some small spots that you haven't tried yet, and yeah, just keep me in mind, pretty much. Thank you guys, appreciate it.
Christian, here is your 1 Million Cups presenter cup. Drink up with pride.